Okay.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Two Moms Save the World. I am Kate, your emotional alchemist and mystic, and this is my friend Uzma. Uzma, what do you call yourself? I made up a name for you the other day. What
I know
is
you
it?
said transformational coach. Was that what it was? I don't know. I
I
just
call,
empty nester coach, yoga instructor, life coach.
wait, it's on my calendar because I was doing the calendar for, remember when I put the calendar together, which I love because now I can just look at my Google Calendar and know like who we're having on or if we have off or whatever. And what did I,
Transformational empty nester coach.
oh, I call you, I'll call you a yogi. That's all I call
Oh,
you.
well, well, that's not, yeah. I just call myself, empty nester coach because
Yes,
that's my focus, empty nester moms. But,
yes.
so how was your morning?
I had a great morning because, we podcast on Tuesdays and we just did the podcast where my friend Laura read our charts. And it was so much fun because I know you and I were like, oh, yeah, there's coffee downstairs. Oh, no creamer. Okay, sorry. We have coffee in my bathroom. We were both like, oh, right. Like that's exactly who I am and why I do those things. And that's why I'm drawn this way or that way. And I felt like, when you have a reading like that done, it's fun to like you already kind of understand yourself, but for
Okay.
somebody to explain it to you and you're like, yeah, that's exactly right. It's very comforting. And I think it also helps you build some confidence knowing, yeah, girl, that's it. That's absolutely who you are. So that is living in your truth, which
Yeah,
is what we're talking about today. So how
exactly.
was your morning?
My morning was good. Like you said, we did the podcast and I learned some things because there are some habits and some things that I have that I just was like, is this normal? Am I not mature enough? Am I too aggressive? And she told me that this is exactly my path. The way I act, the way I, lead is exactly the way that I'm supposed to. So it made me feel comforted in my own, I feel comfort in my own skin now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I didn't feel like I was like some wacko or everybody's saying do this and I jump forward as the first person to do it,
right.
always, I
Yeah.
thought it was maybe it's just me, maybe everybody else doesn't do it. And I realized it is me, that's my personality. And I thought a lot of stuff she said about you, for as much as I know you, was so right on the spot.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, you and I are like born leaders,
Yeah.
right? And that came through very obviously, but being a leader is super goddamn uncomfortable,
Yeah.
right? Because you're like, and our subject today is we're going to talk about, are you living your truth? And so I think this really goes so well because you and I are so fired up after our podcast with Laura. But being a leader is so uncomfortable because you're like, you get people that are drawn to you and you're like kind of shaking them like, hey,
Are you recording?
yes. Yep, I'm recording. It says up there, recording.
Okay, I don't see it. Okay, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, we're good. But that is a good thing to ask me, let me tell you. But you just want to shake people and be like, hello, we were brought to each other for a reason, right? Like so many people that we meet and so many people that are like in our groups or that, I don't know, like I come across people every single day. I had a woman I had like a half an hour conversation with at work yesterday, like we're working through her problems. And you just want to shake them and be like, look, you're not living your life. You're living someone else's life. Do you even realize that? Right. And it's just so hard for people to wrap their heads around, but being thrust into this leadership role of, hey, the world is like fucking burning down and girls, you are here to help that.
Yeah, put out
And
the fire.
and you're trying to put out the fire and people are like, but I don't see the fire.
Yeah.
It's frustrating as all hell.
It really is. It really is. And I have conversations with moms hours at a time, and I have free one-on-one calls. And so, I've been on the phone and the moms have been on there and they've told me things and said things, I need help. I love what you do. And then after an hour and a half conversation, when I'm like, sure, I can help you, either it's crickets or they say, no, I can do it on my own. right? And
Right.
you can't do anything on your own. You really need accountability. If you picked up that phone or if you've messaged me so desperately, that means
Yeah.
you need accountability and help. But I
Yeah.
don't understand what the fear is of moms. You know, they'll invest in like a tennis player, a cooking coach, a soccer coach, and they'll invest energy in all of their family and kids. But when it comes time to themselves, they'll still stay in the victim stage.
Yeah, I have a couple different thoughts on this. One of
Sure.
them I think is, is your specialty, mentoring moms, right? Um, and it really is about those women who have just spent their lives 100% living for everybody else, that they can't even see that they've done that, but that's why they're unhappy, right? But they still haven't made that connection. So
Right.
until they make that connection, they're not going to think about themselves and want to invest in themselves. And then there's this other side that I see, and these moms definitely fall into this umbrella as well. But it is the societal norms, right? That women have been put down and told that they're not smart, right? Like, fucking, we are the gateway. We are a portal to another goddamn world, right?
Exactly.
We should be like, they should be carrying us in the streets on you. You know what I mean? Like we, every time I walk out of my door, somebody should be out there like celebrating me. And I feel like women have been shamed and put down, and we are the ones that we're the temptresses, right? We're the ones that apparently have brought the world into this bad place, and it's just not true. So there's a little bit of that just ancestral conditioning and energy that still resides in a lot of women. That was really deep.
Yeah, it was. Well, you and I also, we do what we do because we've been through stuff, right? I've been through the empty nest. I've been in bed. I've had the anxiety, haven't been able to get out, right? And being able to recover from that through what yoga or self-care, whatever it is, has really, right, made me connect with moms more because I feel it and I know it, and I know that I can help and guide them because I've been through it. And that's what you want. You want
Yeah.
somebody who connects with you. Same with you. Tell everybody
Yes.
why you do what you did in your experience, because you're not just somebody who's just like, oh, I'm just doing this because I feel like it. You have been through something tough
Yeah.
and you've come out of it, and now you're here to help and guide other women, right? And
Yeah.
that's what you want, because there's so many people on there who are just like, oh, I feel like helping empty nesters, oh, I feel like helping, moms, get over stuff. And it's just like they've not experienced it, they're just doing it from whatever they've read.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly. Yes. And I don't know. It's just a frustration as well, because because I do see the world burning down, and I know you do too. And it's like, and I need people to pay attention. I need, we all need, the world needs you. There you go. The world needs you. And you're just sitting there wallowing in self-pity, thinking that, oh my God, why am I even here? I can tell you why you're here. I can absolutely 100% tell you why you're here. And you matter, and you are a part of all of this. And if you choose to ignore it and walk away and not step into your truth and the purpose of what you're supposed to be doing here, you're letting society down. You're letting humankind down. Like oh my God. I'm just getting so riled up. There's just
Yeah,
this
no,
evil
no.
force in the world that
So,
we're
when you were,
battling.
let me ask you this, when you were at your
Yeah.
lowest point, how did did you invest in yourself, or how did you get out of that point to be where you are to help moms?
I did invest in myself. I hired a coach for $3,000. Um, and, you know, I learned so much from her. And I've invested in myself many times. And it just, because once you do it, you're like, well, that was good,
Yeah.
right? I'm on a different level now. I think so differently. I'm like, you understand, like you're elevated, right? You're
Personal growth. Yeah.
Yeah, you're rising, you're seeing things from a different perspective as well, which is so important. And you start understanding the world around you, and you start like I read something the other day that I thought was hugely interesting to me. And it basically said, you are on this earth to learn how to bend energy to manifest, right? You're
Oh,
here to learn how to work with that energy and to manifest your life, right? So you can, and that's just true.
yeah.
You can either manifest, continue in the space you're in, and you're just going to get more of the same, right? So if you're unhappy with where you are, but you're not doing anything to change where you are, you're going to continue to be where you are, and you're going to like eventually die and be unhappy, right? So if you can recognize that and say, God, here I am right now. These are the things I love about my life. These are the things I'm not so in love with. And work towards making that change and really understanding that it's all in your mind, right? And you can manifest the life you want. Until you understand that and actually start moving forward and doing it, you're just going to be in that place, and you're not living your truth, because you're not supposed to just be stuck there.
And I love that you're saying that, but going deeper, I don't think moms can do that unless they really know themselves, unless they have self-love or self-compassion. Because then, I mean, how do you feel about that? Because I feel like you have
I
to know yourself and love yourself to really be like, okay, this is what I want, and take
no,
control of your life.
I will disagree with you on there, because when I did invest in myself, I don't think I loved myself. I didn't know myself that well. But I knew I couldn't live another day the way I was living. That's really was my catalyst. I'm like, I was 50 years old. I'm 53 now. And I was like, if I felt like I was on a hamster wheel, I felt like it was Groundhog Day every day. And when this comes back to me, when I start feeling that way again, like I know it's time to dig deep and start learning new things. But that's what I felt. I felt like if the rest of my life is going to be like this, what's the point? Like if every day is going to be this day, I don't want the rest of these days. And I was never suicidal or anything like that, but I'm just like, there's got to be more to this. Like, what is the point of life if this is it? That was the realization I came to. I can't tell you that I had much self-love or confidence. No, like I was pretty outspoken, but I was always chided for being outspoken. I was always too much, right? So these stories that are told to us that we get in our heads, these limiting beliefs, and that's probably what it was that really started suffocating me, was the beliefs that other people had shared with me about who I am that I just stepped into. So I believed everybody else's version of me, but I needed to find my own.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. And see, for me, that's totally opposite. Like, I believe in self-love and self-compassion
Yeah,
because when I became an empty nester and I couldn't get out of bed and I didn't know what to do and I didn't know who I was, I turned to yoga and meditation. So I had to self-love and understand myself and my body before I could even focus on anything else. So
right.
I invested in the yoga and the meditations and really dug deep into myself, but and then I invested in courses and other things as well. But for me, it was a self-love and self-compassion that I had to get control of because I was not taking care of myself. I was giving my energy, taking care of my kids, my husband, my parents, the whole world. So I was giving, 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 and I didn't know what I needed and what I wanted. So
Right.
I had to do the self-compassion way. So that's so cool how we both
Yeah.
had to do it in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. And before all that, I was doing yoga and meditating. But I think the difference was the intention wasn't there, because I didn't
Okay.
understand, right?
Yeah.
Like that I needed intention. I honestly thought that that just the life that you are living is how it's supposed to be. Like there's really nothing I could do to change the course of it. This was just me. And this was my Catholic school upbringing of, oh, no, you're doing it right if you're suffering. That's
But it's
that's your
also
life.
really mindset, right? Because we're in control of our own feelings. Nobody else
Yeah,
is. If you're
that's
happy or
right.
how you lead your life is up to you.
Yes.
But we are taught, say please, say thank you, live this life. Don't be outspoken because if you are, it doesn't look right.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're all, like you said, all these limited beliefs. And so that's why we think that that's why we conform with social norms.
Yeah. Well, there was a day you had to kind of you know, conform to social
Yeah.
norms, right? Like I say this all the time, our programming is completely outdated. Like you needed to live in a community of people in the cave or wherever you were, because you couldn't do everything. So you had some, the men actually did go hunting. I'm sure women did too. But the women probably stayed home and were cooking and making clothing. So there really were those gender roles. And you needed to be in that community because you needed clothes, you needed food. And like I said, you couldn't do it all yourself. So you had to be more concerned about what people thought about you, because you couldn't get kicked out of that community because you would die, right? So that's that fight or flight survival mode that's innate to all of us, but we've evolved. But this part of us hasn't evolved. And it's just is like, I guess that's got to be by design. Like that's got to be a whole point and purpose to our existence, but it's goddamn frustrating.
It is. And I really think it's just our generation is the last one that conforms. Because when I look at
It
my daughter,
is.
younger generation, they're outspoken. They're not feeling guilty. They're not people pleasing. They're just like, I'm tired. I'm not going out. You don't like it? Tough. You know what I mean? They really speak their mind. And I think it's because our generation as moms is just like, we were just like so done with it
Yeah.
that we just let our kids, be outspoken, say what they want, do what they feel.
You
And
know
so
what
the
I've,
girls have become more powerful than we were. They're not
yeah.
controlling.
So I find something super interesting about what you say there. I was listening to CPR the other day, and they were talking about how like people are having less sex, right? They're basically talking about everybody, but they're like teenage pregnancy is way the fuck down, and teenagers are not like that's not something that they feel they need to do to
Yeah.
be, I don't know, part of the group or what. They just don't care. And I found that super interesting because it also speaks to how we, I think, as a society are starting to understand that we need to be alone, right? We need
Yes.
to go inside to seek the answers for ourselves. And being alone is really okay. Like we don't need that partner to define us per se. And I would ask, because I think mostly women listen to our podcast, like, what are you living the life that you want to live, or are you living the life that maybe your partner wants to live? Like my husband the other day, he was telling me how he's like, oh, I look for places to move to in the mountains all the time for you and I. And I'm like, what part of I don't like the mountains do you like? It's not that I don't like the mountains, but you heard my birth chart. Right? I am a water person. Like I process stuff in the water element. So
I
you
always
need
have
to,
that argument with my husband because I'm like, we live in a
yeah,
small town because of you. We're here because of your work. We
yeah,
move around because of you. I'm an outgoing person. I need to be in a city. I need to be in a big place. I
yeah.
feel I'm so like
Trapped,
squashed,
trapped.
trapped. Like my whole, existence is not supposed to be like this. Like I feel like
That's
I'm
right.
about to burst, right?
Yes.
And
And you
so
probably,
and he's like, oh, and so then I take a vacation here, I go here, and that helps me for a little bit,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm not living in the place that I want to. And he's like, I'm doing this for you. We're living
yes,
for you. I'm making the money for you. It's
yes,
all for me. And I'm like, if we lived by the beach in a small hut and
yeah.
it was just the two of us just hanging out, I don't need all of that other stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
we have, that's so funny because we just had the same conversation. And I feel like I was talking in when we were talking to Laura, I feel like this like brat right now, like that I'm like, no, this is all about me right now. Like it's been about you for the last 20 some years.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, oh yeah, you sound like a huge bitch. The other part of me is like, no, you are part of the movement, right? You are part of this movement to help people, to help women understand that, wait a minute, like as wonderful as our husbands are, and they are doing this for, like, they completely
Exactly.
believe and are doing that. And I get that. And I'm
Yeah.
not disrespecting them
No,
at all. We
not
are just
disrespecting them.
living
Yeah.
in this old society, right? And it is time, women, look at the billionaires in our world. They're all men. Look at the people running our country, right? Mostly men. And it is really time to balance that energy out. That energy really needs to be balanced. So if you think you're being a bitch about it, just keep going, right?
Yeah.
You're not being a bitch. It is okay to stand up for what you want. It is okay to say, but I really don't want to live in the mountains. I really rather live by the beach. So maybe we live in the mountains for 6 months and we live at the beach for 6
Yeah.
months. I don't know. There is a happy medium, but
All
it
the
doesn't have to just be about one person.
Yes. And all those billionaires, they didn't get where they were by themselves. They got where they were because of their wives, right?
Yes, there's always,
Because of
yes.
that backing, they could travel and go places and have those meetings, so they didn't have to worry about family
Yep.
or entertaining or anything else, because the women were the ones who, like, even now I'm like, I tell
Raising
my
the
husband,
kids,
yeah,
yep, paying
don't you-
bills.
exactly. Like, I'm just like, I tell my husband all the time, oh, did you invite this person for dinner? Or you need to mingle with that person. He's like, oh yeah, I will.
Yeah.
I'm like, if we don't push them, then they're just working, working, working. You have to help them kind of,
Oh,
spread
yeah.
their wings as well, and it's just so important to stand up for yourself now. And I think moms, now we are more like, I want this, because when your kids are young, you're so into raising them and taking care of them and that life, that now the kids are older, they're out of the house. That's when you're like, now it's about me.
Yeah, and this should be a
This is
time
when
of
the movement
celebration and
begins.
not sadness.
Exactly. This is
And
when the movement happens.
yeah, and the sadness, I hate to break it to you, like, it's okay to be sad that your kids have left, but women, well, a lot of people do, but I feel like women create these incredible attachments, right? Like, how many times have you kind of suffocated your kid trying to get them to do something you want them to do, right? Like, I gave up on that a long time ago because it was just winding up in fights. So I've kind of let my kids free range for a little while. Like, I don't know, what do you want to do? That's what you need to do. But I think so many of us, and there's no shame in it, have kind of tried to manipulate the lives of our children to do this or that or the other thing because we're trying to keep them safe as well. But we've also created these incredible attachments. And that's why we are so lost, because we are so attached to, this little child and making sure that they do
That's
things
also
the right
because
way.
we've been taught that your kids are a reflection of you.
Yeah.
That's why we have that attachment. That if the
I
kids
don't
are not kind of like, well, I've been raised that way. Like, whatever your kids are, if your kids are great, then oh my gosh, you did a great job as a mom. If your kids are not so good or whatever,
Yeah.
then it must be the mom's fault.
Right. There is that.
That's what I mean. Yeah, by like, that's what that attachment is, and that wording and that, kite mom thing, because if your kids are then, doing well, then it is a reflection of you.
Yeah, I think I that is a societal norm that's out
Right,
there. I think I broke free from that when my kids were very young. Like, I don't know, I just have this rebellious spirit. So I was the mom that my kids never got out of their pajamas on the weekend. Like, even if we were going over somebody's house, I'd be like, do you want to change or do you want to wear your pajamas? Seriously, if you wear your pajamas, that's easier for me. Because if you fall asleep in the car on the way home, I just put you into bed, right? Like, so I was always that mama that I kind of didn't care. And I kind of watched these moms like make sure that their kids were groomed well and had the right clothes on. And I was just never that person. So I think I kind of broke that mold early because I knew I couldn't keep up with it. Yeah, I don't know.
I was one of those moms who, like, the kids had to look nice and, be in the activities and, and when I think back, oh my God, I just exhausted myself.
Right.
And so now I think that's why I can detach better with my kids. Because I did so much that now I'm just like, I'm tired. You guys are older, you're out of the house, it's up to you. I did all that I can do.
I did a great job. Yeah.
I'm just like tired now.
Yeah. What's your time? It's your time.
Yeah, it's my time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is my time. And that's what I want moms to know, is that for you to live your truth and your authentic life is to realize that it's your time. You've done the best that you can.
Yeah.
And so many moms tell me that, my kids are gone. I'm no more a mom, a no connection. But that's why I do the mentoring moms, because your kid's leaving, you're always going to be a mom.
Right.
You're never going to let go of that momness, but you're parenting from afar, you're giving advice, you're there for them. They need you, but it's time for you to focus on yourself. So many
The
moms,
world needs you now.
exactly, but you have to be truthful with yourself. What do you want?
Yes.
And don't just say it. So many moms say, I want this, I want this, I need this, I need help. And then what happens is that when you're like, okay, here are your resources, they're like, no, it's okay.
I don't want
Nobody
to.
wants to align their thoughts with their words. And that's
Why do
when
you
the
think
truth comes.
that is? Why do you think that is?
I think they're scared, because so many moms are like, okay, if I align and if I get help, it's societal norms. People are gonna be like, oh, she's getting help. She can't do it on her own. Or you feel like you've lost control, or it's the ego, or you're just like, I have to take care of myself. What if Johnny needs, that college tuition? Or what if Susie needs that down payment for a house? Or what if Johnny needs, a place to live? How can I take care of myself because we're worried about all these other things that could happen in our life? I think
Yeah.
that's a bit of it too.
Yeah.
If I invest in myself, then that's a bad thing.
Yeah. And it's also not believing in yourself, right?
Exactly.
Believing that you just have a very tiny, and we do kind of have these tiny roles here in the world, but like a tiny pebble, think about throwing that in the water and the ripple effect that it has going out. And that's what I think we need to, I'm sorry, I'm just looking, I obviously dropped curry on my laptop yesterday. I was eating
No,
lunch.
I wanted to ask you, why do you think moms say they need help, but then don't follow through? Or why do you think moms, think, no, why are they scared? And what is that fear, Kate?
I think, first of all, I think a lot of women have a significant other and they're afraid of what they're going to think, or their significant other is going. And my husband was like, how much, like, I don't even care how much it is. If you, cause I was so unhappy and
Yeah.
I was like, I'm leaving. He's like, whatever it costs, do it. We think our significant other maybe isn't going to be supportive. And maybe that's a lot of it too, not having a support system around us to be like, yeah, you're worth it. You mean something and you need to get better, or you need to, you need somebody to show you the way, right? Like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel and I know my way in the darkness through that tunnel to that light. Do you?
Yeah.
Do you need me to show you? Because I can.
Yeah, exactly. Because even with even if you don't have a support system though, when you have that chance to get help, that help is your support system.
It is your support system.
Yes, right. Yeah. I just feel really sad sometimes, because I do everything from the heart. And I really, really believe, like I always tell people, don't what do you call it? Look at my what is it? Don't think I'm pressurizing you, because I'm not pressurizing you. It just comes from the heart. I really believe that I can help you, and whatever I do is authentic, right? Because I really believe in the authentic self. So, just give me a chance, right? Or just give Kate a chance. You can just give us a chance, because we are doing this because we care.
Have you ever been on a call more than once with somebody and had the same exact conversation, like a couple months apart?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
And and I do that, even though in the back of my mind, I'm like, one conversation is enough. If they don't believe in me and trust me, I won't. But because I care so much and I want to help moms as much as I can, I go on that second conversation. I go on that third conversation. I'm on the text.
Yeah, I think my point there was it's the same conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like at some point when you're having the same conversation, right? Like there's a pattern coming up. You're feeling the exact same way, or you call Uzma because you need help, and it's the same conversation you had with her 3, 4, or 5 months ago. Yeah, that you're at a stuck point in your life and you need help to propel yourself forward.
It's that push, and that push to get help and be held accountable and get that support and finally feel joy in your life is really hard. But once you do it, because personal growth helps you stay motivated, focused, brings you joy, and you feel like you're living again.
Yes.
Right? Because you get into the society once you join something, you get into society of other women also, and they lift you up. And if you say, I don't feel good, they're like, well, I've been through that, or this is okay. You know what I mean? That's that jump into getting that accountability and that support is so important. Have you
It
had
is.
moms who have called you and
Yeah.
you've talked for hours and stuff? And like, what have you done about that? Like,
Oh, I won't talk for hours. I put my timer on. I really like, yeah, I mean, it is frustrating to see. I do have some people in my group, and it's the same people with the same problems over and over again. And, at some point yeah, like I want to help you. I want you to get help because you're so important. Like you play a big role, even though it is kind of a small role, it can have huge ramifications that you don't even know. You can't even conceive, right? We were talking about that with Laura this morning, like how you light fires and then kind of walk away, right? But people are running over and lighting their torches off of your fire and you don't even know that, right? And there's so many women out there who are just stuck, who need help, who also could be lighting those fires and they just don't know because they feel so insignificant.
Yeah. Do you get moms who like tell you that they need your help or they need your services, and then when you say, sure, this is what I offer, then you hear nothing?
Yeah, that happens all the time.
But why do you think that happens? Why do they tell you something? Is that not being authentic with themselves? Is
It
that what?
is. And then it comes down to money. People don't want to spend the money on themselves. It just is. People don't want to invest in themselves a lot of the time. But I mean, honestly, once you do it, you'll continue to do it.
You will,
And
yes.
and you start making money. Like the more you like money shows up for me in the weirdest places all the time. And that is part of just living in alignment, right? Like the more you do what you're supposed to do, the more you can find joy and happiness just in your every single day, just your relatively mundane life. And you get into alignment with a different energy, because that is 100% what we're talking about. I don't care if we're talking about doing yoga and meditating, or if we're talking about doing, NLP or tapping, whatever it is all about getting you in the right energy, getting you into that alignment, because everything we do is energy. My voice right now is energetic, right? Like some people can hear my voice and some people will never be able to hear my message because they're not meant to, because I'm not on the same energy. And I think that happens a lot too. I think I talk to people who are just in such a different energetic state that
Okay.
it's hard for them to understand what I have to say at times, right? Because until somebody's really willing to hear what you have to say, they're not going to understand the message.
Yeah, I get it. And I also think there are also moms who understand and get it, but are not ready to accept it.
Learn.
Accept it.
Yeah.
I think the word is accept. Like, I know I'm sad, I know I need help, I know this, but if I accept this, then how will I be looked at? How will I feel? Then all these emotions, all these regrets, all these things come up, because,
Yeah.
it's usually in midlife where all this happens, because you have this time to think and you're like, oh my gosh, I gave up my career for my kids, or you know what, I never did anything for myself, or look at my face, it's aging, or look how much weight I've gained. All that stuff comes up once you start getting middle age. And that's when you're just like, oh my gosh, when you start thinking about it, you feel anxious, you feel sad, you feel lonely, and you're like, what do I do? And you know what to do. And you might even take the steps like calling you or calling me and making that phone call, but you just don't do it, because then you're actually telling yourself, or you feel like a failure.
Yeah. And I think it's lack of self-worth. And I think a lot of it too, because I felt this, you're middle age and you feel like what's the point? I don't have that much time anyway. You know what I mean? Like there's that perception of, well, half my life is over, whatever. I'm too old to change.
Which is so wrong, because in your
I
40s
know.
and 50s, people living in their 80s and 90s, you've got like a whole life to live. I mean, for the next 30, 40 years, you don't want to be like living in these thoughts and this mindset.
Well, and I think it's interesting if you look where you were, and Facebook has been so wonderful at doing this for us, right? Like looking back I can look back 10 years, right? And photos that I still have a lot of emotional connection to. Like I feel that emotion when I look at some of those pictures, and my God, how far have I come? And
Yes.
it is that realization, being able to say, but I've come this far already. I've already made such progress. How can I like accelerate that? Right?
Yeah.
I'm starting to kind of feel good. How can I accelerate that?
Exactly.
But finding joy in every single day, like we always talk about, what steps can you take, right? If you're not going to call me, you're not going to call Uzma, you're not going to do anybody's program.
Yeah.
What steps can you take to move you in the right direction? And the one thing that I would say is really trying to find joy in what you do every day as well. Like um, if you're at work in a cubicle and you're the way you entertain yourself at work. I mean, this used to be me in my 20s, is,
Yeah.
talking about other people in the office in a negative way. Stop
Yeah.
doing that, right? Start looking at something that you can, maybe that person that you love being around, and work on lifting people up instead, right? Okay, I did this funny thing at work, I just have to tell you, and it made me, oh my God, it made me giddy because I thought it was just so funny. Like, we have these little employee appreciation forms that we can fill out. And if you get one, if somebody fills one out for you, you get a $5 gift card. So our prices have gone up so much. And I hear people like complaining the rent has gone up, like everything's going up, but our paychecks aren't going up. So I took a stack of these appreciation things. I probably filled 30 of them out. And as people, like employees that I don't even know, there's a lot of people that work there, but if you came in my lane and bought something, your name would come up on my screen with your discount card, and I'd be writing people's names down. They're like, why are you writing my name down? I'm like, you'll find out. But so that is a way that I have figured out that I can kind of have fun at work, and kind of like say F you to the man. Like I am going to every day fill out at least 5 of those cards to get everybody at least $5 in their pocket. And that's a way I can help lift people up, instead of being like, oh, did you hear so-and-so, like, I don't know, fucked up at work the other day, whatever.
Yeah.
There are ways that you can find to help lift people up instead of breaking them down, and that you can find joy in that. So finding ways that you can actually create joy, not necessarily, well, in your own life, but in other people's lives too, will make you happy
Yeah.
and start putting you in the right direction.
Exactly. And creating joy for others actually brings you joy 10 times more.
Is that right?
Yes. If you give joy to other people, you feel 10 times happier giving them joy than you do yourself.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Like
Yeah.
sometimes I drive through Starbucks and I will be like, okay, I'll pay for the person behind me. And I swear to God, every time it's not one latte, it's somebody who's ordered like a bunch of stuff. It's happened to me at McDonald's, it's happened to Starbucks. I'll be like, I'll pay the person. And I always think it's gonna be like one thing.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be like a big thing, like $15 or something. I'm like, whatever. The other day I was in Chicago, and there's this Devon Avenue where you get your eyebrows, what do you call it?
Reddit.
Threaded for $6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I go whenever I go to Chicago, I go to that place. And so you know what? She's always nice, and I always see her whenever I go there. And I gave her, and she's like, okay, it's $6. And I felt really bad, like giving her $6. So I'm like, okay, $15 tip. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So I always see her, and she lives alone with her son, and she has a hard life. And she was like, what? You're giving me $15? She was just like, thank you so much. She was just like over the moon.
That's
and
amazing.
my husband was like, probably because people give like $1 or $2 as
Girl
a
needs
tip.
to raise her prices.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'm just saying that she was, and just the whole day, I felt such a joy inside of me that just for $15, I made this woman's day. I mean, she was hugging me. She couldn't believe. She's like, are you sure? Are you sure? She asked me 3 times. I'm like, yeah, this is for you.
That's amazing.
And I
Well,
was
that is a fun exercise. Have you ever just left $20 somewhere
no,
for somebody to find with a
no.
note on it?
Oh, that would be really cool, and just stand there and watch if they, I've seen things on Facebook where people walk and they just like drop $20 out of their pocket and see if somebody behind them will bring it to them or keep
Or
it.
just keep it.
Yeah, and if they bring it to them, then they give them like $50. You
Oh,
gave
that's
me
cool.
20, here's $50.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I've seen stuff like that. But speaking on like joy, I would say another step to creating happiness, and if you don't join courses or invest in yourself, would be connecting with people, whether it's your kids, whether it's a old high school friend, parent, something like that. Because when you start talking to people in your lives from the past and the future, or even connecting with your own kids and your family, that brings joy as well.
It
Connecting,
does.
you
It
know,
does.
and you
Yeah.
feel like you're grounded. Because I don't know, as a mom, when kids are all over the place or when your life is not in order, once you connect with your family, you just feel grounded and you feel secure as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what would the third thing be before we head out?
What were the first two?
Well, the first one was, you said, to create joy.
Yes.
You need to, do something like support somebody else, or that's how you create joy. Second one was connecting.
So the third one I would say is disconnecting.
Yes, I was just about to say that.
Disconnect.
Disconnecting.
Go within, find a meditation, yoga practice, whatever, do something for yourself, right? We're
Yes.
doing things for other people. Do something specifically for you. Read a book that you've been wanting to read.
Yes.
Do something just for you.
Yes. And I feel like all these things are amazing, but they're all temporary.
Yeah.
Right? For you to really see the change and the transformation that you want, you really need to go hold yourself accountable, invest in yourself, and really make yourself a priority.
I
Because
agree.
you'll see the changes. There's no transformation by doing it on your own.
That's true.
That human connection with a coach or somebody is so important to really get you to that next level. And we're not doing this just because we want to promote our stuff. I want everybody to know that we're doing it because we care.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I have made so many connections just in the, doing personal about Laura, who we talked to earlier.
Yeah.
Like, what an amazing resource she is. That I
Yeah.
invested in a program and I met her. And I think a lot of the times it's also about the connections you make there. My friend Beta and I are going to do a tarot reading in the next couple of days. I got to get with her because she's super enlightened, but she came across an issue that she's like, I don't know what to make of this. So I'm like, girl, let's bring out the tarot cards and see what the tarot have to say. So you develop all these very cool connections as well, that like you have these resources you can go to and you can say, yeah, like I need, like you, I don't know, you just develop, and these people were where I was 3 years ago, right? But they're in such this higher lofty space now. They've learned so much and we help each other. And that's super fun. That's so much fun. We share our knowledge with each other. And that's so amazing. We try stuff out on each other.
Yeah. Kate and I just came out of a couple of launches. And so we've learned a lot from these launches about moms and about people. And so we just wanted to let you all know that there are resources out there.
There are.
Whether it's us or anyone else, just take a chance on yourself, right?
People get so excited about like the challenges that we do, but then it's like, hey, do you want to go further? No.
Exactly. But when you stop and the challenges, you're not transforming, you're not really benefiting yourself. You're just getting a little taste
of the expansiveness that can be created for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So guys, I'd love you to share and subscribe on YouTube and on our podcast. We do this because we love you. This is Kate and Uzma, Two Moms Save the World.
Yeah, we're doing this because we need to change the world. We need
to. We do.
And I'd love to hear comments of why have you invested in yourself, or have you not invested yourself, and why on either one? Like, this is something that we just are trying to get to the bottom of. Like, why do women, like, there are some women that are like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Like, I don't care. I am that important. And there are so many women that feel like they're not important. And so I want to know why.
I'd love that. Yeah, post in the comments. I'd love to know. Is it fear? Is it anxiety? Is it money? Or any other thing, because we just really, we want to investigate this and see what it is. So we can save
the world
time, because we're two moms saving the world.
We are.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Oh. Okay, let me stop the recording. What am I doing?